Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College Systems Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state. All right, welcome back to Innovation Unplugged. I'm Houston Blackwood. I'm the Workforce Director for the ACCS Innovation Center. Today I have Brandy Merrill, Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center. And our guest with us today by Zoom, probably across fiber lines somewhere in central Alabama, is Mr. Josh Byars. Josh, say hello. How are you?
Man, Houston, I'm good. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Well, man, it's an honor to be with you. And we'll talk all about what's going on and why you're here with us today. But I was driving down this morning thinking about how this came to be, and, we were making a show about this thing. So it's just really cool to have your expertise and your personality along with us. And
I was looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we were looking forward to having you here. But also, he is our fiber subject matter expert. He was with us from the start in our fiber course, and he's driven that train all the way through, and he's still going. And Brandy will talk more about that development process. But without Josh, I don't know that we would be where we are, maybe in terms of the course, maybe, but certainly not in the lab delivery, the way he does, the way you do what you do. So we're excited to talk about all that. Of course, this is unplugged, so we don't really script a whole lot.
Or filter.
We because it's not really about this is our process and we like to do. No, it's just like, hey, this is why we do it, and this is the real part of what we do, and kind of the
just chatty.
Yeah, the why behind it. So, Josh, tell us who you are, where you're from, how you got where you are.
It's funny, man, because I get that question. I get this question more than any question in these labs. Everybody's like, "Hey, how did you get to this?" And I'm like, "To what part?" And they're like, "Instructor." And I'm like, "Look, man, it's a funny story, from a right field, sitting in the right field of the Trash Pandas game conversation of what do you do and how long have you done it? Oh, that's right. We're doing this. Do you want to help us?" And sure. And then, helping to design a curriculum turned into, let's do a lab. Can you teach a lab? And, I was hesitant. No, I'm not going to teach a lab. That's not me. And we taught one. And then here it is, man. It's blown up because, I started doing this almost 20 years ago in fiber industry. We didn't have any training before we did it. You just went to work, and some old guy that had been doing it forever showed you the steps.
Uh-huh.
There was no core training. It was all in the field training. Then the field training to doing fiber turned into jobs at AT&T, and then AT&T, turned into management design jobs. And then fiber internet in the state of Alabama is just blown up. And, that turns into tech jobs where I've done that. I've done your in-home internet. I've done internet or fiber services for Northrop Grumman, for Lockheed Martin, Redstone Arsenal. I've been to Miami, to New York, D.C. I've done data center fiber. There's not a whole lot I haven't seen. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I'm the smartest fiber guy in the world. I'm not.
Well, that's the whole reason we put you in front of the governor.
Boy, you want to talk about a step. Well, my knees still float. I cannot believe Houston's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna speak. You got to do a presentation for the governor and speak." And I'm like, "Me?
Governor,
my professional voice, or do you want me to use my CNN radio? But you may to just sit up here and boom hour this thing because I can do it."
All those places you went and all those things you did prepared you for that moment, and there was not anybody who could have taught the governor better than you that day.
That was funny. I was talking to Destiny. She had came to one of the courses I was sitting in. We were having a conversation, and she said that when she found out I was going to do the governor thing, she's like, "Oh my God, does he have a serious bone in his body?"
Yep, you did.
And said it caught her off guard.
Well, so we have a plan. I mean, like we joke about not scheduling, but we game plan probably better than most groups in the state. But we also appreciate the flex and the creativity, and just that sometimes you can't script and you can't predict an outcome. All you have to do is work with what you have, and that's how talking to you that night at the trash pad, I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So we went in Huntsville and we sat out in the outfield in the right field, and the balcony is right over the wall, and we just sat out there. It was a nice night. We were just talking, and we had just started doing fiber, and I was like, "Hey, don't you do that?" And he was like, "Yeah." So we talked, and it didn't take a whole lot of arm twisting to get him to say yes, because he's just a teacher at heart.
Yeah.
And he wants to give it off to the next person. But that way led to way, and I connected you guys, and then got out of the way, really. And so let's come. Y'all could talk about that, how that went in just a minute. But I didn't know that you would be so great at it. I thought you would be really good to guide the course, and I knew you were funny and conversational. But then watching that first lab, I was like, oh.
I found him.
Noted. Yeah, and so, of course, your wife is my first cousin, and so my mom and her parents were like, giggly little kids about it.
I bet.
My mom, talked about it for a long time. So anyway, but it's just really cool to have you.
Proud.
I know.
That's just pride. That's just parental pride.
But what's cool about it is that when people call, they're like, hey, can we get Josh? I'm like, well, here's his number. Call him. Like, he's a grown man. I'm not his handler. But for a long time,
manager. That's what you are.
I better get a Christmas card. I better get a Christmas card. But anyway, but they call like, hey, can we get Josh? I'm like, well, yeah, Josh is probably busy tomorrow, but schedule it. So, but that's what you've done, man. You your expertise, but just your personality and your attention to passing on information. You've built a course, a following.
You built a following.
Yep. So you built. Yeah, you've done a good job with it, man. And you've made it. You took what Brandy did. It was a beautiful course. You guys did it together, but your model is the model. And if Josh doesn't run the first one, we don't have a first one. That's the standard. That's what we tell them. So just kudos to you, and just out there on the public airwaves across the fiber lines, we appreciate you.
Yeah,
100%.
And you've never said no, like to my knowledge. Even when it's hey, will you do this? You're like, sure.
Yeah. So
look,
let's go back.
It's way different.
What do you mean?
It's different. Look, it's one of these things that we've grown up in a different generation. Usually, we're all around the same age.
Yeah.
And people always taught us how to do stuff. It was always, hey, let me teach you how to do this. Let me teach you how to do this. Now, and I hate to say this, but it's a different world. It's no longer let me show you how to do this. It's if you know how to do this, they don't need me. And I'm over here like, hey, let me show you how to do it so I don't have to do this anymore. I can go back to my office and work. I don't have to be in the field.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
That's the second time that's come up today. Yeah. Actually, we had that conversation earlier with somebody about how, there's some people that just want to hold all the information to themselves and don't want to share and are, kind of fearful that if they do share, then maybe somebody else will have more knowledge. And I think we saw from you early on that you don't think like that. We don't think like that. No. We're very much like, hey, come aboard, we'll be happy to show. And you exude that too. You're not holding back. You're just laying it out there. And I'm happy to teach and show and impart my knowledge to you. And so it shows.
Yeah. I saw that right away. And, I think that's the biggest thing about success. One of our coordinators we were just talking and thankful, what we get to do. And I was like, well, it's not really about what we know. It's just about recognizing the potential of a situation and the resources at hand. And so once you got connected and y'all started building the course, I knew you could do the labs if you would. And so it's been great, man. We've had a really, really good time.
And you were so crucial in that theory portion too. Whether it didn't matter which lesson it was or which interaction it was or which reword it was, you were crucial to that theory component as well.
And that's what I didn't write it down, but one of the questions I wanted to know from y'all, and from your perspective, Josh, and you hit on it, that there was never a training manual. It was just go out and watch Larry do it and see how Larry did it. And then Larry's way became the way, and then you make a copy of a copy. So when we first pitched this and you really talked to Brandy about how the course needed to be, what was your thought from your 20 years of doing this thing? What was your thought about taking all that knowledge and the way it had been done and combining it into a hybrid online and hands-on model?
So when you get into these design courses, I mean, you guys have done several of these. You know how they work. So fiber is such a broad spectrum, and it's huge. I mean, all people think about is just fiber to the internet. Let's do this. Well, my whole look at it is simplify. Let's not make it too confusing and too large. Let's make it simple for people to understand, so it doesn't seem too big for the average person to do. That was my whole thought. It's like, hey, let's don't try to scare people. Let's make it easy. Let's make it simple. Where anybody off the street goes, hey, I can do that. I just thought that was the best method.
But that's what a good teacher does. A good teacher can take very, very difficult material and make it seem easy or understandable, right? Gives scenarios, breaks it down. That's what a good teacher does, who can take difficult material and make it seem like it's doable. So kudos. Not everybody can do that.
No. So have you seen that in the labs as you go sometimes it's company people, sometimes it's open enrollment. How often do you see that person who's really intimidated by the concept and the process? How often do you see that? And then what do you do with that person when they're in front of you?
So after every lab, before we cut everybody loose and they've done their final, we give them their certificate that they've done this. We have a sit down talk, and it's just hey, you guys did the theory. Is this harder than you thought it was going to be, or is this easier than you thought it was going to be? And 90% of the people are like, this is way easier than I thought it would be. And then, you have your 5% that is just, a lot of things are difficult. They just don't grasp it that quickly.
Yeah.
But 90% of the people I've seen that just like, this is way simpler than I thought it was going to be. The modules had me all scared with all the steps.
Yeah. Can be.
That's a very academic teaching strategy that I don't know. If you knew that it was a very academic teaching strategy, tell me. But that's called reflection. And so that's where crucial learning happens, is when you can kind of go back and think, what did this look like, or what gave you trouble, or what did you learn from this? So just naturally, which is kind of why I'm saying you're that natural teacher, because you just kind of walked into that and did it and didn't even realize that that's a true teaching application. That's taught, about how to teach people, is to go back and ask them to reflect on what they've learned. So good job. That's impressive.
Well, think of it like this. Houston, here you are, we're having a podcast, and you're talking to a guy who grew up in small town Lawrence County, Alabama. My dad owned a construction company, and when he would buy a bulldozer or a backhoe, he would come home with it. Me being a small child, me and my brother, he would come in with this piece of equipment. He'd be like, hey, I bought this, come here. Then he would unload it, take us to the back and say, hey, this is how you make it go forward. This is how you make it go backward. This tilts the blade. This does this. By the time I come back, I want this cleared, or this hole dug, or, whatever. So you take that and you grow with it, and you figure out, hey, I can learn this. I can do this. That's how we were raised. And I've never taught. I've never been a school teacher. Nothing. It's just all self-taught. It's experience-based, maybe.
Yeah.
This is a wild ride we have been on in the last year. I will say that.
Well, it's not over, brother. Don't start looking at the end thinking we've made it.
I know we got one more course coming out.
Well, and that's just one more. Who knows? So we started with the outside installer, taking it from the pole to the house. I'll be real simple with that. And then immediately we got the request from the same group. It's like, hey, well, what about the inside? Once you get it there, you poke it through the wall, and then what? And so I know that's really simplified, but
what happened?
And so now we're doing the inside installer, and that's going to touch a whole new level of companies and whatnot. And so tell me this, how many labs have you taught? I could go back and look. If I were a real podcast host, I would know exactly how many and where and all the things.
Oh, my God.
I'm not.
So how recent are we wanting to go? We want to go. So this is
going back.
Today,
we're going all time.
One.
Today's December
20.
40, yeah. 20.
20.
And I look,
Oh,
it's been 20 or so.
Yeah.
what have you learned? So today you're holding a lab, you said down in Prattville?
Prattville.
So if this is
They're
number 20,
having a lab across the hall.
all right, if this is number 20, tell me what you have learned, because I know, I mean, all of us have taught something at some point in time, whether you taught your kids or whether you taught in a classroom. And you know that from day one to, the time you walk out the door years later or months later, whatever, if you teach that concept over and over and over again, you know that you do it differently every time, but you know that you get better at teaching it every single time. So tell me what you have learned about how you teach students from the first lab that you ever did to today. Like, what have you learned?
So step one is I had to remember the small stuff, the little parts of doing fiber. The stuff that nowadays it's a blink in my mind. I don't think about it.
Right.
So I had to remember the little things. And then as we went through this, we've had high school kids for tech schools that don't know anything about it except for they've seen it on TV or something. And then we've had lineman crews come in. That you have to adapt the class more than anything to the people who are sitting in your classroom. If you're experienced, hey, we can skip step one with these guys. They've done this. But we can't skip. We need to spend more time on troubleshooting, not terminating. You have to be adaptive to the students in your class. That is the number one thing that I have figured out and changed in the last year.
What?
And then,
that's
and then
huge.
also the other thing about it is don't take it. Look, trying to think of the most best way to say this on this wide open podcast, but
it's unfiltered.
You got to have look, but it's filtered a little. But you got to have fun with it. Like, look, I'm out here and I'm not doing it. We're not. Nobody's doing it. Nobody does anything for free, but nobody does it to make $1 billion.
Sure.
But you got to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm over here, I mean, look, I was the only instructor to start for a long time, so everybody called, and I did as many as I could. Yeah. If I was not having fun with it, if I did not have a blast in these classes doing this, I'd tell everybody no and be like, it ain't. I'd just rather really go to work or whatever.
Sit back in your office.
I have a blast. I go sit back in my office, go to a meeting, whatever. But I think I have as much fun as the kids, as the students do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. A great point. What is your most fun class? And we'll keep hiring you for all of them. It doesn't matter. But do you enjoy the high school kids, or do you enjoy the line workers at Calhoun, or do you enjoy the company employees who are a whole different bunch of birds anyway?
I'm going to tell you, to be honest, I like the high school kids. I like the high school kids as far as the education, the learning, the knowledge. But realistically, man, the line workers, from Wallace and from Calhoun, the line workers classes, those are the most fun, because those are like, hey, when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, I wish I would have had this to start. I could have took a lineman class, a trade, not worked in a plant for a couple of years, and then started this in my early 20s. I could have got a head start. So you get to reach these people once they've graduated school, and it's time for them to start making their career decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably the funnest class.
Yeah, those boys are eager. So I love this job. It's my favorite job I've ever had, other than being a lifeguard in high school. That was really fun. But
I was a lifeguard too.
The working at Calhoun,
that was a fun job.
Yeah, no real responsibility except for keeping little kids alive. But working at Calhoun,
the blue kids get you fired.
They would, yeah. Yeah, they splash you one too many times and you say the wrong word and you get fired. But the Calhoun line worker program was probably my second favorite job ever, like legit professional job, because those boys were, and girls, we had some girls, they were eager, and they knew they'd tried other things, and once they make it through the climbing week, they knew they'd made it, and they were going to get hired. They were going to go off and do all these crazy things. So it really warms my soul that that's your favorite group, because Alabama Power just emailed this morning. It's like, hey, we finally got our programming for the spring, and we want to put your fiber course in all of our labs, all of our training courses. And so that's Alabama Power, which is a part of Southern Company. It's a huge deal.
Huge.
You two built a course.
So
y'all built a course, and then now Alabama Power has said, hey, we like that, and we're going to incorporate it into our training.
Okay.
And I'll send you the dates, Josh, but they're in the South, of course, Jeff State down, and those Calhoun is not part of the Southern Company or Alabama Power, but anyway, like they've adopted it, man. So like we're always talking. Yesterday, I just texted the group like, hey, how do you know when you've arrived, or how do you know when your process or product is legit? And yesterday it was at a college.
And I kind of thought he was kidding. Sometimes you don't know if you should take Houston seriously or not. I was like, I don't know about this one. Is this a lead into something else?
That's correct.
But a college had emails like, hey, we want you guys to build a CNC machine operator course. So not a machinist, but a CNC machine operator, a little bit different level. But like the college asked us to do it. Not, we didn't sell them on it. And then today, Alabama Power comes like, hey, we want to put your course in our course. Well, praise God, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is why we live. This is why we live for this job and do what we do. So kudos to you guys. Just, we'll mark this moment in our Innovation Center history that we like. That's a pretty good arrival.
That's what makes it fun.
Pretty good arrival. So, but that is kudos to your part, Josh, for making those labs work and in your meetings with those guys to show them what we do and how we do and go to toe with them, because they can be very intimidating when you're in a room with them and they've been doing this since there's been power.
And we don't know. We're not fiber people.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is. That's why we bring Josh along as the consultant, because we're like, hey, interpret all of this.
So let's have some fun with this. So we did have back in August, I think it was August, 1st of August, we had Governor Ivey had a broadband announcement. She was releasing out, $300 million or more, almost $400 million for expansion of broadband in the state of Alabama. And so naturally we get involved as a part of that press conference, and it was a big deal. Like there was ADECA was on stage, the governor was on stage, some other important people, like representatives.
Legislators.
Oh man! And so, Josh, what was it like when I called? I was like, "Hey, we're doing a press conference."
I wondered how that happened. Like, what did you tell him?
I don't even if it was a text or a phone call or whatever. I was like, "So what was your response?"
I can tell you, Houston. Here was the deal. You didn't even. Nobody texted me at all from the group. I actually got a text from Joe Johnson, and he was like, "Hey, are you going?" He was like, "Hey, are you going to be here on this day?" Why? Why would I be there? And he's like, the governor Ivey's coming, and I'm like, well, that's neat. I mean, I can be. And then it's like the next day, Houston's calling me, and he's like, hey, this is what's going on, and we want you to be down there. I'm like, well, I really can't take off work, but this is the governor, so
at this point, you're thinking you're just arm candy, right?
That's so funny because you weren't arm candy. You were the show.
At this point, you guys are like, hey, come down here, and I'm just like, yeah. I'll go down. I'd love to go down here and see this and see what they think and hear the speeches. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, you've got to do a presentation for ADECA. You're going to have you're going to have a couple of students. Y'all figure out what you're going to do. And, I went down there and I met with Joe, and we're like, all right, so we're going to get the Fusion Splicer, and you've got these 5 students that have been through it. And he's like, how can we present this to the governor that what we're doing? And I'm like, oh my God.
It's the governor.
We gotta laugh. I'm like, well, at first things first, look, we all love the governor. She's been very gracious with her money to the fiber internet, to ADECA and everybody. Couldn't be here without them.
She's fabulous.
But trying to figure out how to explain something and make it make sense to people not our generation. And then we were like, hey, all right, so we can do this. Let's cut a piece of fiber in half, put a light on it, run it through the Fusion Splicer, have light come out the other end, and mimic internet, how we're using this to connect internet through the state.
Yeah.
And then the worst part was when Houston them said, hey, you've got to, you're not going to do any of this stuff. You're the one that's going to talk. Wait, what?
Every shoe just keeps dropping, doesn't it?
It's like, wait a minute. This is not in my contract.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, Houston, you're giving this, Houston gives this phenomenal speech.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Yeah. And then he's like, I'm and we're gonna hand it over to. And this is the funny thing: if you guys have went back and watched the video, the live broadcast from the news, right when Houston goes to throw it over to me is when it starts to skip and lag. So it's like, we're going to throw this over to Mr. Jobs. If you haven't had the opportunity to see him in class, it's hilarious.
Okay. Well, we can't control
but then
that.
They come over. No, but it's just funny.
So what was it like? So you have these students that you taught, and here comes the governor and ADECA and some really other important people, and you're like, I can just imagine, because I was nervous up there. That's probably the most nervous I've ever been.
You couldn't tell it.
But what was it like as the governor of the state is walking towards you, and you've got to be like, fiber in 30 seconds? Like, what was that? What was going through your mind, man?
Yeah, they're telling me, they're like, hey, you've got 2 to 3 minutes. You've got to speak and make this happen. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, I've already been over the whole thing with these 5 guys. My knees are just shaking. I am sweating.
God, y'all hide this so well.
Yeah.
Look, I am a nervous wreck. And I'm trying to explain to her exactly what we do. And then I cannot think of the guy's name that was from ADECA. No. Once they do the fusion splicing, when we do the fusion splicing, then we've got the light all the way through. And I'm like, that's how we're using this course to teach people in the state how to connect this fiber. And he just looks at me, just dead eye. He's like, is it really that easy? And I'm like, it is, once you've been through our course.
That bingo.
Everybody claps.
Yeah.
And then everybody, starts clapping, and it's over, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is like it's over. It's the biggest relief.
Yeah.
I think this went well. And then, it was over, and everybody's like, hey, this all went great. Fantastic. It was a nervous moment. I am not going to lie.
We should have taken you for a cocktail later, shouldn't we? We missed that moment. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Y'all did. Y'all asked, but I had to stay, and they wanted me to stay and answer some questions from some of the other people.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was a really fun time, man. And we look back, we were talking yesterday about the Innovation Center scrapbook, like our baby, in the different stages. And I think that day was huge, because we were, because the whole point of Skills for Success is that it's the first time that all the colleges have had a consistent programming. Like they all do their own thing, regionally, whatever they have. And it's all good, but they've never all done the same thing ever. And so now this is the first one where they actually do. And so we can say, if you come to Alabama and you take this course, like everybody from Florence to Dothan and Scottsboro to Mobile, they're all equally trained. So on that stage was like, we were showing our best and our most consistent course that is really going to change the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it was a huge day. And it didn't dawn on me till really I was on my way home. And I was like, well, that was kind of a big deal. But man, you rocked it. And like, we handed it off, and in the way you had that board tricked out to already be ready to go, it looked like you were doing the thing, but the thing was already done. It was really cool. And that's part of it. And there's some gamemanship to this, but you did such a good job. And then I knew, now here's the fun part. So, Alabama Power called this morning. Yesterday, Ceasefire just happened to be in the system office building. And they were like, hey, we know we were a part of the original course, right? We want to be a part of the next course, but we want to be at every lab. So can you get me the lab schedule? And which is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Like we want a company at every lab. So what does that say to you? Because you work in the field, like you are a company that hires people to do these things. So what do you see, how do you see that being a benefit to have a large, I guess, regional? Are they national, regional company?
Well, they want to come higher.
Yeah, they want to come higher on the course. So what does that speak to you?
Ceasefire was a part of this when it started, when we were doing all of our conference calls and stuff. They were a part of it. They were the ones telling us, hey, we might want to change this. We might want to do this. Helping us point it in the correct direction. So now to turn around and almost a year later to hear Ceasefire say, hey, we want to be there. We want to hire people out of this, just shows what kind of success this course has done. Now that we have a national company that wants to use this as a hiring tool. I mean,
and we talk about the collaborative effect all the time. Like the colleges collaborate, and that's kind of, in some respects, that's kind of a new thing, right?
It's very
'cause
new.
they don't always collaborate like that. But you look at the larger players in the state, in the fiber world, and they're collaborating too, because we're asking them to collaborate with us, and they're offering to collaborate with us. So it's a huge, I don't know, it's just a huge project where everybody's like, let's just jump on board together and get her done, So it's a cool process to watch.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun being at the front of those things.
Yeah.
And then kicking it down the road and watching it just roll.
Yeah.
Like it's like watching your kid leave in the car, and because you're there with Emily. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Is she 16 or something? Is that why?
She turned 16 last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
God bless you.
So we're talking Rowan. My son turns 15 next August. I'm like, oh gosh, but we say this all the time. Like you raise the baby and you turn it loose, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but it's so much fun. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend.
It is. Let me ask you a
Well, I mean-
question. Go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead. Ask the question, and I can probably roll this answer into that one.
Well, okay, good. So what I was going to say is kind of thinking along those lines, because, as a parent, so if we're talking about being parents, as a parent, you kind of think back to moments that are, I don't know, kind of monumental moments, right? Like pulling out of the driveway or those types of things. What has happened inside of these labs that stand out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like what are some events, or could be comments, or could be something that was done or you did? What are some of those moments over these last 20 labs that you just immediately think of?
So it goes back to a little over a year ago when this started. I never in a million years thought we'd be here.
Uh-huh.
We kicked off and we worked on the theory. And then the theory came into, hey, can we design this into a lab?
Okay.
And then we turned around, we designed this into a lab. And then can we do the demo lab? And then we did the demo lab and we redid the demo. To now you go through here, and I would say the first lab we did in the summertime with the linemen, with Wallace, because that was really the first time we had a full class of people that didn't know anything, that weren't from Ceasefire trying it or anything.
Last summer.
And to see them go, early this past summer,
Yeah.
to see them go, we get to use the fusion splicer. I'm like, you're going to use it. And they're like, well, we just thought you demo it. We didn't think we'd get to use it. And I'm like, no, the great state of Alabama has put out this equipment for you guys to put your hands on, to feel comfortable with. That was probably the first step to where it caught me off guard, because I didn't realize that they didn't think they'd get the opportunity to use this type of equipment. I mean,
Like handing the keys over to your kid. You mean I get to drive?
Oh, and the bulldozer to your 8-year-old. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. We funded, what he's talking about is we funded kits for every college that wanted to do it, which they've all done it now. So we gave them, the system office gave them the money to buy the kit from Gresco Supply. We've got a new one called CoreLink. That way each college has their own stuff, and so they can run this thing as much as possible. And inside that, how many splicers? 2 splicers each kit? Or 5?
2 splicers of each kit. No.
Yeah, 2
I wish it was
splicers.
5, but those things are expensive.
Well, I think as this thing grows, man, as we re-up these kits and resupply whatever, who knows, with all the money that's out there, we could probably commandeer some other funds from Governor Ivey to do that, and from Lieutenant Governor. But that's cool to hear you say that you actually get to use that, and that's an impact on the students, because they don't know what they don't know, and you got to teach them what they haven't seen, show them what they haven't seen. So that's really cool.
I think it's cool that your industry not only gets all of that, all the press because of how much money is coming in for broadband, but it also, what a shot in the arm, these students are giving to that industry, because they're getting out there and going to work, right?
I mean, that's the number one thing that we've got to work on, and I'm trying to work on it, is reaching out to these, like Ceasefire wants to be at the labs. We've got to find more companies getting to these labs. That'll probably be,
boots on the ground
But once a company like Ceasefire gets in there, when Ceasefire gets in there, and now, another small company around like like P River. They're like, P River sent all of their linemen through the course. They wanted them to get hands-on to be cross-trained. And then when they hired new installers, and when P River hired guys, guess what? They sent their guys through the lab.
Yep.
Like, hey, we want them to know stuff. That makes a difference, man. It puts a smile on your face.
For sure. We've had trouble with the fiber companies and not the companies. Like we've had trouble connecting. No one has been like, no, I don't want to play with you. It's just, there's just been this geographical disconnect for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, we're a small team, and that's a big industry.
Yeah.
With lots of different players and lots of different connections to make. So I think we're making headway. We're making ground.
Yeah. And we actually have Josh, just to speak to your point specifically, Destiny, Matt, and Sandy, our workforce coordinators, we are, we have a game plan to engage the chambers of commerce, local companies, using the chambers to get the companies, economic developers, and local and state representatives, elected representatives, to just put them on the calendar invite for the lab. So the next time we have one in, wherever, we're like, hey, well, here's the Practical Chamber of Commerce, and here's the Central Alabama Economic, whatever. So they see it, and it's in their face, and they can either, accept the invite or not, but then at least they're going to say, well, what is that? Mm-hmm. And if they're good at what they do, they'll say, well, let me go see.
Yeah.
Or let me send somebody. And so literally we put them in the box and see how they respond. But the first time Ceasefire says, oh, we're at so-and-so community college at this lab and yada, yada, yada. Well, they've got other companies that have spies that follow them on social media, and they'll see it. They're like, well, we weren't invited. So it's going to snowball.
Yeah.
And that's how it's played.
And so much of it is about communication too, and Kayla does such a good job with social media and getting it out there. But even kind of like we were talking about earlier, we think, gosh, we are. I mean, we're talking all the time and everybody's out there and social media is out there, but there's still so many people that just don't know what we're doing. Y'all go out more than I do, and y'all talk to, lots of people all the time in lots of different venues. And we want to think that, gosh, surely there's not anybody else in the state of Alabama that doesn't know what we're doing, but they are. I mean, there are people. And I think, that's one, I don't know about challenge, but that's one aspect of how we grow and how we make better connections is, improve communication and find all of those people that still don't know and let them know,
Yeah. And we're working it hard on it. In the spring, we have a plan to do all that.
Yeah.
But that comes from, it doesn't, the first time they come to a lab, if it's not good, then they're going to say, well, this is awful. What are we doing?
We haven't had that happen yet.
They haven't had it. So I know it's going to be good because you're there or you've trained that instructor to follow up. Where do you see this thing going in a year, 5 years, 10 years in the fiber industry in general, or with how we're teaching this thing? What do you want that to look like in just the next evolution?
So fiber optics has taken over what used to be when we were growing up Houston. Everybody we knew, if they got a job at AT&T or Bell South, those were career jobs. And now the phone service stuff is going out, but now AT&T and stuff is getting into fiber. And in 5 years, fiber is going to be the master of everything. It's going to be spectrum fiber, not just spectrum and, coax. It can be spectrum fiber. Everything's fiber. It's going to be the hugest, one of the largest jobs, markets in the nation.
Yeah.
And I see this course growing, evolving with the times. As, equipment gets better, we can get better equipment.
Okay.
As more people get trained, the workforce grows, it gets out, and more people will see it and know, hey, this is a career choice I can make. This is something I can learn to do and make good money at. That's what I see. I see it as a growing challenge industry for years to come. Nothing that's going to go away. And that's what I tell my kids. Emily, and you probably tell Rowan, you're like, hey, if you want to go to college and you want to get a 4-year degree, that's great. If a 4-year degree is not what you want to do, let's go get a trade.
Also great.
Okay. Houston, you're everybody over there. All you guys have 4 years degree. That's 4-year degrees. Erica has a 4-year degree in computer stuff. I have more certifications than I know what to do with.
Yeah. And yes, 100%, man. You're right on. That's why I told Ro, I was like, you're either going to go to college, or you're going to go to trade school at Calhoun, or you're going to join the military. Like, those are your three options. So figure out one of them that you like, and let's go. And he just, yes, sir. But he's 14. He doesn't know. So, but he will in a few years. But you're exactly right. And that's what's cool about this course is that you can not have a plan, get out of high school, and be like, oh, I think I'll do fiber. And then in just a week, really elapsed time, a whole week, have a certification and go make $20 an hour better, plus benefits, plus overtime, plus per diem, and end up making it close to six figures in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it hasn't cost you anything. You know, I mean, I know we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but I mean, we're 100% funded by the state legislature, you know, trying to inject in the arm of the citizens of Alabama, right, to improve education and skills training. And I think we've done that. I think we're getting better at it. I think we're doing more and more every day. I mean, you went over numbers, I don't know, recently, you know, looking at over 8,000 people in the last, 20 months?
So, 20 months.
20 months, 8,000 people. You know, and as we have more fiber courses, as we build more Skills for Success courses, and even other courses that the Innovation Center puts out, you know, that number will continue to grow and climb. And I don't know, it's just exciting. And listening to you talk about how, you know, we will be able to change. Obviously, you know, if something changes with equipment, then we change the course with equipment. And that's what is kind of the beautiful thing about what we get to do, is because we don't really have to wait on a new edition of a textbook. You know, we just make the change. We just do it because we create it, you know. And so by us, the Alabama Community College System, owning the content, owning the curriculum, and copywriting these courses, we can make changes at the drop of a hat. We don't have to wait, you know, until there's a new edition or, you know, whatever it is. It's very adaptable. And so that, you know, it makes it different, makes it different than anything else that's out there. That's for sure.
I mean, let's just be honest. You guys are doing this podcast right now, and you've done several, and you guys are tooting the horns of everybody that's on the podcast. And I don't think that you guys are tooting your own horn on us of the difference that you guys have made. Randy, you and Houston and Julie have made a huge difference in the state of Alabama education with what you guys have been able to do in the last 2 years. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit on that.
Well, I mean, we may be thank you for that. And it's heartening to hear that, but it's so like, we don't take that lightly, but at the same time, like, we may be up front in the person and the people that you see, but there's so many. If it was not for the yous and the, you know, the other people that we involve, the whole team of people that work with us, for us, beside us, gosh, in the building across the state, if it wasn't for the colleges, if it wasn't for the workforce folks, I mean, there's so many people that we talk about this all the time. Like, we really don't ever have a need. Like, people just come and say, we'll help. You know what I mean? Like, there's only, I don't even know, there's so few times that we've been like, golly, we need to go find this. I mean, inevitably, there's just this support system of people that want to see this succeed and have seen us succeed with it. And I mean, thank you, because yes, I mean, you know, it's easy to say because we're the ones sitting. Gosh, there's so many people, you know, that if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be where it is.
Yeah, we do appreciate those kind words, but the thing is, the job is not done. You know, there's so much more. We had a phenomenal day yesterday of just achievements that, you know, the team has collected, and some of them were unexpected. But each one has a task that goes with it. Each one has hands-on action items. So it is fun. We do see the benefits. We see Hunter Stidham from the Belleville area who got a job for a company because he'd been through a skid steer course, and then they sent him back for 2 more. So we see it for sure, but it's just like, okay, so we did that. What else can we do? You know, let's push this envelope a little bit farther. So it's just, you know, it's I've been there in a time in life, Josh, when I thought I was doing good things, and it burned me. So we make it a point to, I think as a team, we're very humble, try to be as humble as we can about what we do, but none of it happens without good people like you keeping us in line and making it, because here's the thing, like you go down these classes and who knows what happens. I'm not there half the time, most of the time. So if it weren't for folks like you holding the quality, it wouldn't happen like it does. So we're almost out of time. Josh, final thoughts, man. What do you want the world to know about Josh Byars, about your company, about this fiber course, about Skills for Success? Talk nerdy to me.
Ooh, talk nerdy to you. So first off, man, I just want people to know that I'm an honest person and I have enjoyed this ride. From the time that it started, Houston, I tell you, the driving force behind this, when you were like, hey, will you be a part of this? Like I told my wife, I said, look, I have to do this right and I have to do this good. I can't let Houston down because Houston's the one they call me. I could not let you down and make this look bad. And then over the year, we've grown this, and I've been put in places that I never thought I would. I mean, I've played golf in Birmingham in big-time tournaments, in Pro-Am, and still was more nervous in front of the governor doing that presentation than I was teeing off.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen this grow into something that I wish I could have been a part of 20 years ago. And to see the smiles on some of these kids, what they see when they come through this class, the stuff they get to do, and they get to put their hands on and understand, has made a world of difference. I mean, I know that Josh Byars' name is not on that fiber course anywhere. It is not stamped in there, copywritten anywhere. But to know that in 10 years, when this workforce is what it is, I will always be able to look back and go, hey, I was a part of that world-changing class that did this for the state. I was a part of that. And if you Google it, there's, interviews and you can find it there. That's it. And I love it. I get to stay behind the scenes. I get to teach the lab, and I get to smile knowing that, hey, as big as this has grown, as many labs as, invitations I'm getting now, I was a part of making a difference in something that'll be there forever. And I'm grateful for the opportunity you guys have given me to do it. And also grateful for the company that I work for giving me the opportunity to take off and be a part of it. Sunrise Network Solutions has been great to just let me take off and come teach these classes.
Yeah, I don't think about that very often. I don't think about that SNS lets you off work to do all these things, but I forget it. I forget how gracious they've been. You made a comment about in 10 years, it's not looking back and saying you were a part of it. That's come up in every single episode.
Yeah.
And Chris Strickland from Dunn University talked about it this morning. He's like, it's not about what we're doing right now. It's about looking back when you're gone and you've been gone 10 years. How successful is the course, or how successful is the unit? So that's spot on to hear you say that. So knowing the success of his world and knowing your success, and y'all are saying the same thing. Oh my goodness, how far is this thing going to go? Because it's in here.
Yeah.
It's not money. It's not fame. It's, to your exact point, it's right in here, knowing that I'm doing a good job and people are benefiting from it. So.
Yeah, it's that passion and pride. It's kind of that generational pride that we were talking about with Chris.
Yeah.
He was kind of relating it in a whole different world of, here you have a worker, an operator who can drive across a road with his family in the car and can look at his kids, and say, hey, I built that, and that kid grows up going, hey, my dad or my mom, helped build that road. And so it's kind of the same thing. I mean, none of us want our name on anything, just like you don't have your name on anything. We build on behalf of the people of Alabama because, well, that's all of our tax dollars, going to fund a lot of what we do. But at the same time, you're so proud to be able to just be a part of it. There's not a day that goes by that we do not recognize how lucky we are to get to do the things that we do, because we get to watch it happen. Like you, I mean, your boots on the ground, you're watching this transformation from one course to the next course and one group to the next group. And anyway, so it's incredible.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Josh, thank you for your time. I know you got some students probably in the lab with a fusion splicer and no instruction, no supervision, so that's awesome. I'm kidding. I'm sure somebody's with them. But hey, thank you for taking the time. In general, all things skills for success that you've done, taking the time today. We appreciate you so much. That's it, man. Brandy, you want to close us out?
Sure. Y'all be sure and like, subscribe, and follow.